Welcome to Love to See It, a podcast about male solidarity.
Rob has finally gotten his boys' club in the turret, and he's never, ever gonna let it go.
Today we're getting into the Traitors Season 4, Episode 10. We are getting down to the nitty-gritty here.
Wow, it's all happening. But first, a little housekeeping. First of all, do not miss our Love is Blind coverage. This last drop of episodes was truly so unhinged. The audacity of the men this season so unparalleled that we had to release a 2-part recap. Like, that is how much shit we needed to talk.
and I still have more left in me. Don't get me onto the topic of this drop of episodes. Also, over on Rich Text, we released a conversation with author and journalist E.J. Dixon about the tyranny of the bad mom label. We also have an episode coming soon about the America's Next Top Model docuseries and the Tell Me Lies finale. So you will be able to find those episodes at claireandemma.substack.com.
Okay, let's get into it. Traitors, episode 10. We open, of course, on breakfast, and I was just sad to see that no one is discussing the salmon anymore.
Yeah, but Rob is still eating entire hard-boiled eggs. Just popping them in there.
Can't beat the snake charges.
Maura and Rob arrive first, and Maura, like, as the numbers dwindle and as there are fewer and fewer people to look around at, like, Maura's commitment to being Rob's useful idiot is
unparalleled.
It's growing stronger. It's growing more irrefutable. It's growing more front and center. Everything she does this episode is about propping up Rob. She is so confused and also proud about how the two of them have made it this far. Isn't it crazy? You would look at Maura and think, how could she survive in this game? But somehow here she is with her good friend Rob, who she trusts completely. What are the odds? They must just be really good at this game.
Both of them, equally
Both
so.
of them. And she really trusts Rob. So it's so good that she has that one person there who she would never question through with her all the way to almost the end.
She turns to Rob and she says, "I'd be in shock if you turned around and said I'm a traitor. I'd probably die. Well, my gal, get ready to drop dead."
She doesn't seem to notice that he almost like visibly swallows. Like, we have a lot of criticism for Rob throughout this season and throughout this episode, I would say. But he is not, I think, a full sociopath. I do think that he cares about people on the show. I do think that he likes Mora, and he's starting to feel pretty fucking guilty.
He feels so bad. The weight of his treachery is just like hanging onto his beautiful, beautiful shoulders. And he is turning into sad Rob.
Much like his overall straps, the weight of his treachery dangles from his shoulders.
Just one single strap.
He's like, I've been using Maura's feelings and emotions to win the game. And like, I like her and I feel guilty that I'm doing that. Mark and Eric arrive next. Eric is still a bit freaked out that Kristen called him out the night before in front of Mark, but he thinks that he explained himself well enough to deflect suspicion. I don't personally think that he did, because there was a lot of stammering and confusion in his response. Mora says that she knows who she doesn't trust, Natalie and Johnny. Her instincts are always on point. Mark seems like he's starting to doubt his suspicion of Tara. The round table where Johnny and Tara came out together, that kind of swayed him. He's like, she seemed really convincing.
He's like, she's not that good of an actress.
This is Mark's line. His line on Tara the whole way through is like, she's just not that good of an actress.
I agree.
He's also worried for Kristen, who has been his close ally in the game. He's like, players with good instincts like her are targets in this game. And I don't think that we have seen much evidence of her good instincts. I also like Kristen and think she's smart, but I haven't seen her have many accurate hunches so far. It's just
I will
interesting to
say
me
that Mark and Kristen keep going online and being like, we really were like writing things down and we did have theories. They're not showing them.
I believe that, but we do see theories from Kristen, and they're always wrong.
Mostly, except for Eric.
Yeah, that was like that was gonna be her moment of glory. I think that it's just interesting who people decide seems like they're smart and have good instincts and who they don't. Because
I
a lot
agree.
of the time, the people that they say are strategic or have good instincts are not, to my view, being more strategic or having better instincts than some of the people they think are all obviously terrible at this.
Yeah, some of it is just bluster and confidence, and that is why poor Tara just really falls down.
And I think a lot of it is honestly being sort of more masculine
Stoic.
presenting, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, I think that, like, the people who present as much more femme are treated with less respect in terms of their instincts and
Even
their
to
strategy.
themselves. Even to
Yes.
themselves.
Yes, even to themselves. So Tara arrives and she is a bit shamefaced. She says she feels bad even walking in because her radar has been so off. She's really embarrassed. And she's afraid that her bestie Johnny is a goner. Everyone kind of side eyes this because why would they kill Johnny? Many people have been suspicious that he's a traitor, so he seems like a perfect person for the traitors to keep around. Like, whenever you're really afraid that you or your friend will be murdered when you're not a great target for murder that week, everyone kind of everyone pricks up their ears. But Johnny arrives next. The final arrival is Natalie, which means that Kristen was murdered.
Oh, Mark's bestie. We get a flashback. Kristen finds the traitor Jack in the Box, and she says she's at peace. She's like, I was the most faithful of the faithfuls. Everyone knows. And then she says, Eric was a little quiet tonight. I pressed him. If he's a traitor, well done.
He blew his cover as a traitor in record time. Like, he couldn't play it cool for one day.
It's kind of impressive, actually.
Yeah. Rob makes the argument to Eric back in the turret that murdering Kristen, while it could put heat on Eric, that would only be from Mark, who was the only other person there. And he believes that they can convince Mark that it's not Eric. So they agree to get Natalie banished the next day so they can kind of have a 2-for-1. And I see their calculus here because Natalie is a prime candidate for banishment. There's been suspicion on her periodically for a long time.
Yeah, I think they know it would be
Not
harder to
Kristen.
banish Kristen.
I also was like, of course Rob is going to say this because if Eric gets ousted, at least Rob's still there. Like, better to put a little suspicion on
I mean, that's
Eric.
the thing. As we see later, Rob is willing to go to bat a little bit for his bro, but
Mhm.
push comes to shove. I mean, come on.
Yeah, Rob.
Any traitor would put themselves first. Also, so interesting. 2 more women get to go home.
Yeah, it is interesting how that works. Even if you put your full faith in the nice seeming man, he's going to put his bros ahead of you, ladies. Natalie says that her plan is to be more open and observant because she has been wrong in the past. Rob makes a big show out of how he feels so defeated and played. And Natalie and Tara seem to slightly side eye this. Like,
Because this is a change in his demeanor.
yeah, that's not normally how he addresses this sort of moment. Like, he doesn't normally get, like, hangdog and, like, "Oh, I just feel like I got played." After breakfast, the players mingle and chat. They chat strategy, and Tara has a gambit. Tara has really decided to play the game for better
For a
and for
brief
worse.
moment. Oh, I was so hopeful at the beginning of this episode. Tara
I know.
feels like she has realized that Natalie is not a traitor, which is
She slept on
correct.
it. She
Yeah.
slept on it, and she's like, "I no longer believe Natalie is a traitor." Correct. Follow that instinct.
She pulls Natalie aside and she floats. What if Rob is a traitor? Is Tara the
Hmm.
first person we've seen seriously bring this up other than
I
Candace?
I think so. Like, there's been no real discussion of Rob to
No,
this
Rob's
point.
name has barely been out there other than people saying it obviously couldn't be Rob.
Right. Yes, it was weird that Candace did that, but I mean, it's not Rob, so we don't have to think about that too hard. It's almost amazing that Tara has this brainwave because she has not had a lot of notable brainwaves. She has had some big errors in thinking, but she's really picking up on something here. And Natalie cottons on immediately. She's like, you know what? I have blindly trusted Rob this whole game, and my instincts have been all wrong. So let's re examine this person that we've never considered. Tara points out that Candace threw out Rob's name by voting for him. And Natalie also brings up that it's strange that she hasn't been murdered yet. She's like, I am a prime target for murder. I'm a gamer. Like, all the other gamers are gone, but I have been closely aligned with Rob this whole game. I've been trusting him. Maybe that has protected me. This is the kind of strategic thinking that you would hope Mara would be able to do if she was led directly to it and had it
No.
explained to her.
No, certainly not. Natalie also points out that Rob has the dagger, which means that he has 2 votes at the round table. So she knows that if they're going to make a case against Rob, they need the numbers. Unfortunately, Natalie decides that the best person to recruit isn't Johnny, isn't Mark, it's Mora, Rob's #1 ally crush.
Yeah,
This was
I was like,
this was
Natalie,
a really wrong move.
Natalie, what are you doing? Like, this is the last person you should have gone to, because there are other people who are aligned with Rob who take a lot of pride in approaching the game from a more strategic mindset and who would be, I think, very open to saying, hey, I've trusted him this whole time, but we've been wrong so many times. But sometimes it's the person that you trust the most, but maybe that's why I'm still here. Mora is not that person. She is never going to let go of her safety blanket beefcake. Like, she's not going to do it. She is the person that you should just count out of these discussions.
I know.
And they take it right to the person who is going to bring this information to Rob with the least critical thinking before doing so.
It's such a bummer. Meanwhile, Mark is pulling Rob aside to be like, you are my last trusted friend here. You're definitely not a traitor, right? Right? Promise?
He makes Rob look him in his eyes and promise that he isn't a traitor, which sounds like such a funny thing to do because what can that prove? But then I was like, Rob is not doing a great job at this. He pauses, he's sort of looking around, he's like, yeah. That is the least convincing promise that you're not a traitor that I
You're
have
not
seen from
accounting for
you.
the fact that these faithfuls are terrible at this game, Claire. They will at this point, I'm like, Rob, take all their money.
I was like, what's the point of extracting these promises if you're not even going to pay attention to the obvious physical cues that he is lying and he feels bad about it because you're his friend now? Mark floats Eric's name. He's like, the last thing Kristen did was question Eric, and now she's gone. And Rob says he heard that as well, but I don't know. She didn't really have very much. Eric is quiet most of the time. That's normal. It's interesting that suddenly he's able to really put himself out there to deflect suspicion from a fellow traitor.
Yeah, it's amazing. At this point in the game, when he has a fellow bro, suddenly it's worth doing. And as he tells the camera, I gotta have my boys back. Boy being the operative word here.
Listen, Rob is good at the game. Maybe he doesn't think that it's time to sacrifice Eric. Maybe he would be open to sacrificing Eric at a later date. However, when Candace wanted to have her girls back, people called that stupid. That was bad gameplay. That was bad strategy. Here's Rob doing the same thing, because when it's his boy, suddenly that kind of loyalty matters in the turret.
Exactly. It also mattered when it was Ron, who was extremely unstrategic. Like, I will give Rob all his flowers for being very good at this game, but I'm not going to say that Rob is playing a perfect game. He is
Yeah.
benefiting a lot from the societal biases. And look,
His
that's the name of the
sorry.
game. He should be using it, and he is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And everyone ends up, if they can, leveraging those stereotypes and prejudices in their favor. There is a lot more in favor to work with when you come in with certain privileges. That's all I'm going to say.
Just the thing.
So his task now to protect Eric, which is very important, is to get Mark and everyone else to go for Natalie. And that is the plan that they settled on in the turret. So he points out to Mark that Natalie didn't vote for Candace when everyone else did. And also she is the only gamer left. And I will say that if I were Mark, that would be compelling to me. There's pretty much always a gamer in the turret. I would be expecting there to be a gamer. I'm like, why are there no gamers that we've gotten out so far?
I agree. And I understand why people would be suspicious of Natalie because she seems really strategic. The vote is a little odd. There is a case there to be made for Natalie, and I don't think it's weird that people are compelled by that case. Meanwhile, Natalie and Tara are doing their big one, pulling Mora aside for a girl chat. The wrong time for lady solidarity, to discuss what they've all been missing. And Natalie points out that she would have been the perfect person to kill if she was up for murder. So why is she still there? And Mora's like, well, why am I still here? I'm terrible at the missions and I have no idea what's going on in the game. I bring nothing to the table. Yes, keep going with that, Mora.
You're so close. You almost got it.
Why
are you
there.
here?
Yeah. Why?
This is
Why do you think, Mora?
We love a ladies' alliance. We love female solidarity. But you can't go first to the lady who is very invested in being aligned with the popular guy. But they make this effort and they give it their best shot. They lay out the evidence. Natalie brings up that Candace voted for Rob instead of Natalie. Maura's like, well, she just thought she needed to be consistent by voting Rob because she brought up Rob's name before. You can see the motivated reasoning that Maura's like, well, I'm latching onto this explanation that exonerates Rob. And so it's obviously that. Obviously.
But it also doesn't make any sense because her whole argument for Candace being a traitor is that this didn't make sense because she said it was a throwaway vote and then she was suspicious of him.
Right.
Like that was Maura's actual argument, which was correct. And Candace was a traitor.
Maura's like, I'm just sure. I'm sure that it's not Rob. If I got to the end and Rob was a traitor, I'd storm out. I'd drop dead. Maura is not a get for them. But Natalie is more convinced than ever. Like, the more they're talking it through, she's like, the evidence is all there and I've been blind to it because of my alliance. It's definitely Rob. Meanwhile, Johnny, Rob, Mark, and Eric are all discussing Natalie and weighing whether she's the traitor. They're like, would she have actually taken out all of her fellow gamers like that? Or is that like too cold? It's not clear where everyone is going to settle, but they do seem to have the numbers on their side because they've got all these people plus Mora who are going to vote for probably
and
Natalie.
Rob has two votes.
Are willing to vote for Natalie.
At this point, it's very hard to go against Rob at the round table.
Yeah.
Because he has 2 votes and there's not a lot of people left. Also, I was like, Johnny.
I thought that you were 100% playing the game with Tara now, except when you're undermining her one actual good instinct of the entire game.
So annoyed. This episode was just me screaming at all of the faithfuls through my television.
Screaming at figure skaters on TV. Like, it really is the Winter Olympics. I'm kidding. I love you guys. When you fall, I just feel sad. Sorry.
Yeah, honestly, actually, it is the same experience as watching the Winter Olympics. I'm just sitting there watching, being like, "Oh my god!" And they didn't land the triple axel again.
I'm like, why? Why did you psych yourself out and double that triple? Like, it would be better to fall.
On that note, we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, we'll get into the challenge and some more strategizing that, of course, all goes wrong.
And we're back. So they head to the challenge. On the way, they're split up like Tara, Natalie, and Johnny, and then the rest in the other car, Mora, Rob,
Which
Eric, and
also
Mark.
feels like a real structural advantage for Eric and Rob.
Right. And
Like, why do they
why?
get to be with the majority of the people?
Right.
This annoyed me because that's a production choice.
Right. It would have been much more interesting to put Mark in Tara and Natalie's car. Someone
Exactly.
who could maybe be peeled off. Tara, Johnny, and Natalie are discussing Rob, and Johnny seems like he could be on board. He's like, yeah, maybe Candace's vote was a breadcrumb. Meanwhile, Maura has come to the SUV with a little information for the boys that Natalie and Tara are trying to accuse Rob of being a traitor. She just like
I was
runs over to them
I
with
was
her
like,
little bit of gossip, her little scuttlebutt.
Mora, you're a gender traitor.
And like, it's just so infuriating to see Rob doing everything moving heaven and earth to keep his boys safe. And meanwhile, here's Maura selling out the ladies without turning a hair. I'm like, can it at least be gender wars properly if we're
Yeah.
gonna do this?
It's like gender
So
wars, but the popular girl goes with the boys. This is my middle school trauma coming back to like bite me in the ass.
she's like, they didn't really have anything except wanting to look at people who haven't had any suspicion on them. And I'm like, Maura, that's not true, but that's fine. You don't need to tell them every detail of the case they made that you clearly didn't take in at all. She says that now she's suspicious of Natalie, and Mark agrees that he's been suspicious of Natalie this whole time. At the challenge, they come upon a very creepy carnival.
I
They will
love
be
it.
riding what
I
Alan
love
describes
these
as
sets.
I know. Alan, it's sort of like this felt very much like a horror movie version of a Bachelor date.
Yes. Maybe that's why I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, like we've seen this so many times, but it's been recut as a horror movie trailer. So Alan, wearing an incredible bejeweled like headpiece and veil situation, welcomes them to his carousel and explains that they have to like get on this carousel-esque like spinning ride. When it stops, they get off. They have to run to like the fairground stalls where there are a bunch of stuffies, and they have to rip open the stuffies and find bags of gold. And then they have to run back to the ride, do another spin, and repeat. They can't get back on the ride unless they have a bag of gold. And whoever is on the carnival ride at the end will get a shield. Somehow no one clocks that that means that they won't all be on the carnival ride by the end. They're all very thrown by the twist where it's musical chairs. Eric and Tara have doctor's notes. Because of medical reasons, they cannot ride the carousel. And so they have dummies riding the spinny ride for them.
It
Seems
is
like a
really funny, by
huge
the way.
advantage. Yeah.
It is a huge advantage. And yet, well, I guess no, Eric does win as a result.
Yeah. And Tara makes it far. I mean, it's interesting that Johnny is like, I'm a figure skater. I spin almost every day. I'm well trained. And Tara's like, I literally can't do this. You're also a figure skater.
I mean, there must be some sort of specific reason that this.
And I don't want to speculate on what that
Yeah.
reason is, but as someone who gets very motion sick, I think I should also, in that scenario, get a doctor's note.
Maybe you could.
Maybe I could. They don't want me projectile vomiting all over the challenge. Johnny gives some advice to Natalie to cross her eyes if she gets dizzy, which was interesting. I read that there's like eye focusing exercises you can do to kind of reset your brain and reorient it, which I guess is what he's speaking about. But Maura tries to keep herself from getting dizzy by closing her eyes, which does not work because it's really kind of more about your inner ear, I think, in some sense, than closing your eyes. But Mark is also maybe at an advantage here because he's a professional dancer. Good amount of spinning.
So after the spin stops, they have to, as Johnny describes it, run like drunk toddlers and rip apart teddy bears to find the gold. Rob is the last to grab a bag of gold in this first round and realizes the twist. A seat has been taken off of the ride. And he is so bitter and angry about this that he starts coming for Mark because Mark has gotten on the ride with a lower value bag of gold.
I was so thrown by this. Like, this does not seem strategic to draw attention to yourself in a negative way at this stage in the game. So to me, it almost comes off as him being genuinely bitter.
That's the thing. I was like, maybe he was genuinely bitter and then thought it's good to lean into this because people need to think I really want a shield. But it's just so odd
No.
and out of step with how he's been behaving the whole time.
It's, he is actually, I think, really bitter about not getting the shield because he doesn't want someone else to get the shield.
He's
Like,
just
it's
doing
really-
like the eye
especially-
rolling and the like, like stomping around like a baby. It started to give me the ick.
No, it's really off-putting. Mark is not the only one who got only $750, so it's sort
No,
of
you
random.
find a bag of gold, you run, and you get
You
on the
run.
ride. Like, that's what
Right.
it is.
But I think really what's coming out here is that there's a very small number of people left, and he has plans for what he wants each person's path to be to help get him to the prize at the end. And if he can't murder whoever he wants because someone has a shield, then that could fuck up his end game. And so he and Eric are clearly highly motivated to just prevent someone else from having a shield. And so he just like acts out. And Mark is like, it's not my fault that that's the one I found. That's how the game works. I don't know what you want from me. And finally, Rob is like, I'm not mad at you, but it's like you were mad at him
No,
and you were criticizing
are.
him. And this is wild because Rob might have a plan and want that shield, but he also really benefits from his social capital with all of these people. And he is burning a good grace with Mark by doing that. I don't think that that was strategic. I think that was just dumb and him being petulant that he couldn't control a part of the game that he wanted to control. And this does make Mark realize maybe Rob is not as close of an ally. I'm certainly not as close of an ally as Mora. He and Mora are going to stick together. Tara and Johnny are going to stick together. I am not anyone's number one anymore.
Buddy up with Natalie, except the problem is Mark suspects Natalie.
But
But if Natalie had made the overture, I think it could have worked.
That's the thing. I'm like, Natalie, Mark is gettable. His best friend in the show went home last night. Like, he is looking around for people to align with. And you went straight to Rob's ally instead of someone who maybe was able to be peeled off because he's like, my number one is gone. Oh,
And
it's pissing me
Natalie's play in all of this is that she's going to buy goodwill from Mora by helping her not lose the shield.
like, she literally has to use her guns to rip open the stuffy because Mora can't. Rob has literally carried Mora in challenges, Natalie.
Yeah.
She's not going to pick you over Rob. Mark was gettable, Mora's not. And now she's like, everything is coming together. Like, now I'm seeing more and more reason to be suspicious of Rob. It's so weird that suddenly he's upset about the shields. It kind of feels like he's acting. And
Ding, ding,
personally,
ding.
I don't think he's acting, but he is changing up his game. He's acting
Right.
different.
So Johnny is the next to be eliminated from shield contention, and then Mark. I was like, oh no, all the people that I want to be shielded from murder.
I know.
The following round, 2 chairs are eliminated, which means that both Natalie and Tara lose out on shields. I was like, there is no justice in the world. At this point, Mora has the absolute audacity to yell, I'm so good at this game, as if Natalie didn't just save her ass.
I know. I'm like, you could have been out 2 rounds ago when you were unable to rip open a stuffed dog. So count your blessings.
Eric ends up winning the shield after decapitating like a whole family of plushies. Rob is looking smug as hell. They've done it again, those traitor bros.
And they drive back to the castle in their cars again. The same cars. Like, they didn't redistribute anyone at all. Eric is feeling so good. He's like, Rob and I can do our plans unimpeded by a shield. In the car, Mark asks if the others are thinking Natalie and Tara. And Rob says he thinks Natalie got recruited because she used to confide in him, but in the last couple of days, she hasn't.
This is a smart thing to say
Yeah.
because it's totally plausible. And she is distancing herself from him.
Right. Like, she can't deny that. In the car, the other car, Natalie tells Tara and Johnny that she thought Rob's acting was so bad during the challenge. She's like, he's never done that before, acting mad about the shield. But she's counting votes. She's like, the votes are tough. Rob has 2 votes himself, plus Mora. Johnny, Tara, and Natalie are 3. So it's 3 against 3. This leaves Eric and Mark. And she's like, if we get them, we win 5-3. But they're
You
not going to
won't.
get Eric. The only way they would get Eric is if they got Maura first, unfortunately. They don't know that. But Eric will only vote against Rob
If
if
he
it's
has to.
clear that, yeah, they would get at best a deadlock from going up against Rob without getting Maura. Tara says in her confessional that she shared her suspicions of Rob with Natalie in confidence, and Natalie is now running with it. And it's clear that Tara thinks this is maybe not a smart move because he has a dagger. The numbers just don't look very favorable for them to vote him out tonight. And so she
And I
suggests to
kind of
Natalie,
agree with her on this.
yeah, it's Tara and Natalie have their own games to worry about, right? Natalie is accurately assessing the situation, I think. And she knows that she is
Yeah.
probably gone tomorrow. She's going to get banished or she's going to get murdered. She's one of the people who has had her name out there the most, who is still left. People are currently whipping votes against her, and they haven't, no one else on their radar to go for tonight. So her best hope is to just make a Hail Mary push against Rob. But Tara is not necessarily thinking, I'm going to be gone tomorrow. She's like, let's hold off. Let's do Rob tomorrow.
Because Rob can only use the dagger tonight. That
Yeah.
is the important thing, is that the next day they could banish Rob. He wouldn't reveal whether he's a traitor or not, but they could banish him and he wouldn't have 2 votes. So like I do agree with her in that sense. I also do understand why Natalie is like, we just have to go for it.
And I think that there's also the point that 2 of Rob's non-allies could be gone by then through banishment and murder, right? So you lose the dagger, but you also lose maybe people who are on your team, especially if he is a traitor. Like, they're in a kind of a tight corner.
They're in kind of an impossible spot. And I think a lot of the very effective groundwork that Rob laid is now coming to fruition for him, right? Like that is what he definitely did well, is he peeled off people in such a way and made connections with people in such a way that there is not a cohesive group of people who trust each other more than they trust him.
Yeah, exactly. He has quietly taken apart any opposing alliance. And he's made such strong inroads with everyone
Almost
there that
everyone.
even if people grow suspicious of him, most of them would kind of rather be convinced of someone else, as we later see. I'm, sympathetic to Tara being like, I kind of didn't want to make this such a big thing right away. And now I'm going to have my neck stuck out there, and that's not what I wanted to do. But she did go around with Natalie to try to convince people of this. And like, there's no guarantee that they'll be around to make this play tomorrow. So I feel like Natalie just doesn't have another choice.
I also think that if Natalie's going to go for it, Tara needed to back her up.
Right. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to watch what happens. When they get back to the castle, the tensions are high. The chicken is out.
I just keep thinking about how cold the food must always be.
They need chafing dishes. They need those little sterno, like those little sterno heaters underneath the chafing dishes. It's always just sitting on a cold platter in the castle. Rob tells Natalie, as they're both getting food, that he thinks either he or Mark will be murdered because it's so clear that they're faithfuls. I thought this was a bit desperate. I was like, this is coming off desperate, sir. Like,
I think
to be
Natalie
like,
feels like that
I
too.
I'm so concerned about being murdered because I am a faithful, of course.
He's done
Laying it
this
on a little thick.
before. Like when he murdered, not when he murdered, when he was voting for either Lisa or Candace, he was like, the problem is I have to, as a faithful, banish
Right.
traitors.
No one else is saying those things that I see. Like, it's
But
such a tell to me.
no one is going to clock it. So
Yeah.
Natalie and Tara finally go to speak to Mark, but I think it's a little too late. And they
Yeah.
bring up how maybe Rob was protecting Natalie from murder. They also bring up Candace's votes, which Mark is like, yeah, I actually noticed and wrote that down as well. And Rob's overacting today, being like, oh, I'm so scared. I'm so defeated. Mark points out that they have to get Eric. But
Yeah.
personally, he seems to be doubting.
Yeah. I think that Mark is doing the numbers and he's
Yeah,
like, if you guys can get Eric, maybe I'll sign on
but
because,
I'm not sticking my neck out there against Rob, even
right.
though I do think he kind of believes that Rob is a traitor.
Yeah, in his confessional, he's like, I did notice that Rob was more performative today. He was more nervous. Like, I am having doubts about Rob, but like, you guys need Eric. I think it's telling that Mark does not at all suggest Mora as an option. Like, that to go to Mora first was such a massive tactical error that it's like killing me. But the smart thing that Rob did was he picked a traitor who would be easy to keep aligned with him. Like, Eric is not going to backstab Rob,
No.
right? But it's not his number one current ally. So now he has two absolutely ironclad allies at the end of the game. And there's barely anyone left. With the dagger, he's unbeatable right now because he has a dagger and he has two ironclad allies. He has four votes.
100%. And no one else has the knowledge he has or the
Yeah.
power.
Yeah.
So they're all more likely to start doubting themselves, which is exactly what happens. Johnny approaches Eric with some of the evidence, and Eric immediately brushes this off as desperate. And Johnny doesn't trust himself, nor does he trust Natalie. So, like, he's pretty easy to convince.
Yeah, Johnny is just kind of like going around licking his finger and sticking it in the wind. He's like, "What's the vibe? Whatever the vibe is, I feel like I probably agree with that." I I couldn't possibly say. Eric and Johnny go over to talk to Maura and Rob. And obviously, Maura and Rob are really pushing Natalie. Johnny and Eric seem quite open to this. Maura brings up that Natalie was last in at breakfast, and she didn't even flinch when she realized that Kristen had been murdered. Which, like,
And
to me seems the things that you brushed off from Rob as them not really having anything, but you think Natalie not having an emotional reaction to someone else being murdered is a smoking gun. I don't. It's all motivated reasoning from Maura.
and Johnny is convinced. He still believes Rob is a traitor, but he's willing to get Natalie out.
Yeah, he's like, maybe it's Rob and Natalie. And like, sure, yeah, maybe it is Rob and Natalie. Maybe, who knows? After Eric and Johnny leave, Rob tells Maura that they need to get Natalie out tonight and Johnny and Tara later. And Maura sits in her like puffy beret and looks thoughtful. Rob, I want to say, is wearing overalls tonight with a plaid shirt underneath, and the charm is gone for me.
No,
It's
we've gotten
like,
the ick.
I don't care anymore. I don't care about your overalls anymore.
Johnny talks to Tara afterwards and convinces her out of her own instincts. This made me so angry. He's like, well, everyone else is on Natalie, and they're all so much smarter than me at this game. I was like, Tara, no, Tara, you have a good instinct finally. And she's like, I don't know. I'd have a really hard time voting for Natalie. I feel like that was really honest in the car. But Johnny is not convinced. He's like, Natalie is a professional game player. He also thinks Rob is a traitor, but he's like, maybe this is traitor on traitor violence from Natalie. And that is, again, a plausible argument.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It
Like, if
already
Natalie
happened this
was
game and they
recruited,
didn't even
yeah.
notice. It really seems like Tara's starting to doubt herself at this point. I was watching this like, how am I supposed to believe anything you two say about the quality of the footstep work and the
You don't trust
twizzles
yourselves at
and the
all.
toe loops? You don't trust your own instincts. I need you to
I think
stand
this
10 toes down.
I truly think this game has broken Johnny and Tara, but really Tara. And I started to relate to her because I think if you are a person who doesn't have like an ironclad sense of self-confidence or even like overconfidence, this game would drive you crazy. And I'm like, I can see myself being just like such an idiot in this game and having like one good idea and then someone being like, well, we've been pretty wrong every other time. And I'd be like, you know what? You're so right.
Yeah,
You're so right.
I
Tell me
have
what to
been wrong.
do.
I have been wrong every other time. Oh, God. So Tara decides to hang back at the round table, and she and Johnny are like, we're going to prioritize the two of us again. She's like, I'm not going to really put myself out there tonight. And at this point, I was like, I do understand this move because she doesn't have the numbers. She's not going to get them. And all she's going to do is stick her neck out unsuccessfully again. The problem is that, Natalie thinks that they have a plan.
Right. She didn't talk to Natalie about this. And Tara
Yeah.
is the one who originally floated Rob's name.
Right. Tara approached Natalie and initiated this whole gambit. And maybe she feels that Natalie took it further than she intended, but she was the one who approached Natalie to kick this off. And now she is about to hang Natalie out to dry.
On that note, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, the rest of this episode of The Traitors.
And we're back. So it's time for the round table.
The round table from hell. I was in
Oh my
physical
God.
pain watching this.
It felt a lot like watching the men's free skate. Like the figure
Yes.
skating themes are really coming through for me.
I know. I was like, this
episode.
is Ilya.
I know. I was like, we're going to do this. We're going to lay it all out there.
And then it's just like jump and a fall, jump and a fall, jump and a fall.
We're singling the quad. Like we're missing a jump. Like it's all falling apart. They're losing their nerve. They're choking right in front of me and I can't do anything about it.
And I can't take it. I cannot take it. I hate it. I hate it so much. So Tara kicks off the round table by not kicking off the round table.
Yeah, she's like, I just want to
"Will-"
kick it off by saying that I am not kicking it off today.
Yeah, will someone else please lead it? I don't want to, and I don't trust myself. So Rob is like, great, now's my time. It's Natalie. Natalie's pulled back. She's been distant. There's been a change. And Natalie's like, well, Rob, I feel like there's been a change in your demeanor. Rob brings up how Natalie has said that, of course, she wouldn't kill all the gamers. But in a way, and Mark and Mora agree, wouldn't this actually be brilliant gameplay? It would shield her.
But it won't because
Well, and it doesn't.
and it doesn't because of course everyone I think on some level assumes that there must be a gamer in the turret and it must therefore be her because she's the only one left. Like she would surely have left someone else there at least to deflect some suspicion onto in my view.
I agree. Also, Mora is so annoying to me. She's like, Natalie, you keep saying that your closest people in the game are gone, but we've all lost people. No, Mora, your alliance is there. Your
Mora,
best friend is right there.
Like, yes, you have all lost people. There are 7 people left, and you all have been friends with more than 7 people in this game. But
Right.
your number one ally from day one that you have been like making googly eyes and, letting him like sling you around like a sack of potatoes, like that guy is sitting right here at the table. So that's completely different from Natalie's situation where she doesn't have
She's
a
alone.
really solid single alliance left. She's alone. Maura, the only reason you're here is because you have your number one ally in the game still here. That is the literal only reason you have survived this long. Maura has started to believe that she's good at the game, and it's driving me crazy.
Same.
Natalie counters this by pointing out that as a traitor, you need to keep people around who will speak up for you so you can make it to the end. And
She is just describing Mora.
right, right. Like the way that you are speaking up, I would need that person to make it to the end, and I clearly don't have that person. And she says that yesterday, when she wasn't murdered, she asked herself why she was still there, and she decided to look at her blind spots and say, well, maybe she has a traitor angel. And she thought about Rob, who has been her ally. Maybe he has kept her there because she supports him. She says that she lays out her case. He seemed so defeated at breakfast. That's not normal for him. She's like, Candace was really smart. She voted for Rob twice. That's kind of weird. She says, Candace came for you out of the blue. We have to pay attention to things that don't make sense. Maura immediately jumps in to say it was a throwaway vote. Like
Throwaway.
every time they want to talk about the evidence against Rob, she's like, well, that was a throwaway. She said it was a throwaway, so it was a throwaway. Like, what are we even talking about here? It was a throwaway vote. Yeah, Maura, there's always an explanation. Whatever piece of evidence you want to pull out, you can't just be like, we can't talk about that anymore. She said it was a throwaway vote.
Mark does jump in and say he clocked Candace's vote too. And he says out of everyone we got, like I guess out of the 3 traitors they've eliminated, she would be the one to have the smarts to create strategy plays. This doesn't convince anyone else. At this point, Rob pipes up like a petulant child to be like, is anyone going to let me defend myself?
I was like, no one's stopping you, Rob. Feel free to speak. Speak
When
up.
he feels cornered at all, he starts to become such a baby.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought this was unbecoming. Like, I'm sorry, this is how it works. People speak at the round table about who they're suspicious of, and you are certainly welcome to speak up and defend yourself. His defense is that Candace's argument seemed half-assed to him because what does dropping a fork show? And that is true.
That's true.
But, like, Candace was a traitor.
Right, she knew. She knew who the traitors
Right.
were. That's
It's
the
not
point.
that Candace actually had a suspicion based on you dropping your fork. It's
Right, why
about
would-
the fact that she knew because she was a traitor.
Right. Why you think she would be trying to actively make like a clear case against you? No, she has the information. That's why
Right.
it's suspicious.
No one is referring back to Candace to be like, I think she sussed out Rob because of her incredible instincts. The point is that she knew. Like,
Lord, I'm
that's
going to lose my fucking mind.
And Maura keeps bringing up the throwaway vote explanation.
Like Mora, again, she knew who the traitors were. She knew who they all were.
knew. Natalie brings up that Tara said it could be a breadcrumb. And Tara, like, literally tries to hide behind her hands and her, like,
Tara,
pearled beret.
Tara,
and I was like,
this
oh,
is the
no.
point in which you just have to own it. But she
Yeah.
will not. And she's like, oh, I just get so confused because it could have been a breadcrumb, but now I'm second guessing. Maybe it was just a wild card. Tara.
Poor Natalie. At the very
This
beginning, when Tara
sucks.
made her little speech that was like, I've been wrong before, and so I don't want to say something wrong for the faithfuls. You can see Natalie just like bracing all over. She's
I
like, what the
know.
fuck is going on? And in this moment, she's like, I'm going to directly bring Tara into this. She's been talking about Rob all day. I just need to put her on the spot. And Tara completely rug pulls her.
It like sucks. This sucks.
Poor Natalie. She's like, I'm mad. Like, I've been trying to trust people in this game, and now some people are saying very different things than what I heard from them earlier today, and it just sucks. Tara addresses that this is clearly about her. She's like, I think you're talking about me. And Natalie says, yeah, it is. I put my guard down and I feel that you took advantage of me. She tries to lay out like everything that is upsetting her about the situation. And Tara keeps interrupting her to defend herself, but she never really says anything except, no, I didn't. No, that's not true. And Natalie
This
is
is
like, let
just
me
such a
finish.
bummer.
Natalie's like, I have backed Rob up the whole game. He is the first person who is hard for me to put on the table. This is not easy for me. But we spoke about it. I thought we were like aligned, and I'm doing this thing that's hard for me, and now you're backing away from it. And Tara's just like, what? I don't no. And then she looks at Johnny and she's like, I think we have to speak up. And I was like, Tara, you can speak up. You don't have to reach out
She's like
to Johnny.
so beaten down in her self-perception at this point that she can't. And it made me so sad. And then I got pissed off at Johnny because Johnny makes a cowardly move because we know he suspects Rob. And he's like, I never made a firm commitment to vote for Rob.
Yeah.
And
I don't want to be part of this. Okay. And Tara just nods. And I'm like, Tara, is Johnny your boss?
like, I understand that at this point, Johnny's reading the room and he's like, Natalie has sort of gone off the rails and redirected the anger towards Tara. And so we're not convincing anyone. So he doesn't want to put himself in Rob's crosshairs, but like they're all already in Rob's crosshairs because he can murder whoever he wants tonight.
Tara and Johnny, if you have gotten Natalie embroiled in this theory and now you're committing to not speak on it at the table, Natalie needs to know that.
Right. They needed to
Like,
tell her.
I thought this was super shady. And I think in this moment, Tara clearly feels bad and like she should speak up, but she's still deferring to Johnny. And she's like, if he's not going to speak up, then I won't. Tara, it was your theory to begin with. It wasn't
stick to
Johnny's
your
theory.
guns. You had one correct instinct and you can't follow it through. I'm going to lose it.
Yeah. So Natalie, like me, is like, I'm really sketched out by this. And Tara kind of scoffs and rolled her eyes, which I found off-putting.
Rob then turns to Natalie and says, "You're very smart," and then condescendingly adds to Tara, "And you're smart too."
He says it in a
doesn't
way
mean
like,
it.
he's like,
He
obviously
doesn't mean
none
it
of
at
us really
all.
believe that. He's like, you're smart too. Of course, Tara.
Oh, sweetie, you have a brain also.
Yeah, you're smart too. But he turns to Natalie and he says, it's interesting that you're so smart, but you're coming in here with Tara's plan. And I think the implication is like Natalie is just trying to deflect attention by latching on to whatever theory is at hand because she's a traitor. So there's no like solid theory for her to
Right.
use
She's a
against
traitor.
anyone else.
And the implication is, and as we all know, Tara's a dummy.
Yeah.
Like, that's the underlying implication. And Natalie says that she feels isolated from the rest of the group and has been with Tara and Johnny the whole day. Unfortunately, this isn't a very convincing defense.
This I got so frustrated with Natalie too, just because I was like, you're not doing yourself any favors. You're going to Mora first with this plan. And now you're being confronted about this alliance with Johnny and Tara that's falling apart and your theory. And your answer isn't, I am looking at the evidence. I believe that it adds up. It's, I just had to go along with this because I was just hanging out with them too much.
You can't
Natalie.
gun for Rob and not stick to the instinct. And the fact that Natalie ultimately doesn't even vote for Rob, it's just like throwing away the game. Like the game is done.
Yeah. And this is this her second time voting against Tara out of like peak? It's like,
yeah, just
Natalie,
because Tara
on.
annoyed her.
I mean, she knew that she wasn't going to get Rob at that point, and I guess she was just like, I'd rather punch back at Tara in this moment.
She wants to get Tara out. That was the end game at this point.
So this is when Maura decides that everyone needs to hear from her. She turns on Tara. She's like, you have no evidence and nothing to go by with Rob, but you're putting his name out there. And somehow you're convincing Natalie, even though you have nothing.
There is evidence.
Maura's like the monkey emoji with the hands over the eyes. She's
Yeah,
like, if I
see
can't
no.
see it, I can't see it, I can't hear it, it's not there. No matter how many times you list out the evidence for me, I still feel like I have never heard any evidence. Could you please lay the evidence out for me? That's so funny. Once again, I didn't hear it. In a confessional, Tara reveals that she is feeling suspicious of Natalie again because Natalie is glaring at her.
This is the problem with these two. They're like, the other one annoyed me. It's them. The faithfuls are just shitting the bed so
I'm like,
hard in this game.
Tara, Natalie is glaring at you because you are selling her out
Right.
hardcore.
That's
That is
not
why she's mad at
suspicious.
you. It's not suspicious. It's incredibly normal for her to be
So at
really
this point,
mad
I
at
was
you
like,
right now.
okay, this is done. This is done. Natalie's out. Alan ends
Just
debate there.
complete
And
disaster.
Rob obviously invokes the power of the dagger tonight because it's his last chance to use it. His name's on the table, and he is handed a literal dagger, which is amazing. You know,
I
Alan
guess
was
you'll
like,
be
I
needing
get to
this.
pull out the knife tonight.
So the votes are shocking. It is appalling. These people have fallen apart.
I was like, okay, Rob, I guess at this point deserves every dollar he's going to steal from every single one of you.
This game is an
This is pathetic.
absolute tatters. Like there's no hope. They didn't have the numbers. It was basically impossible to get the numbers to get Rob out tonight. There are going to be 2 more people gone tomorrow.
But what
It's
they
done.
could have at least done is inject enough suspicion in other people to guarantee that the remaining faithfuls who make it through will not end the game with Rob, except Mora, who
Yeah.
will do whatever Rob says.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a chance that Rob will get kicked off the show before he literally wins the
But
prize.
But the chance is
But it's
smaller and
not looking
smaller,
good.
especially if Mora goes with him to the end.
Ugh.
So Natalie votes for Tara. I can't. And
Yeah.
like everyone else votes for Natalie. It's pathetic.
Yeah. Tara's like, I didn't feel like you were a traitor after our conversation today, Natalie, but now I feel attacked and I'm going back to my original instincts. And I'm like, okay, you're being attacked because you betrayed her. So, okay. Johnny like apologizes with his vote and Natalie is
He doesn't
like,
even
don't.
get the chance to. Before he can say anything, Natalie turns to him and says, "Do not even say sorry. Like, I don't want to fucking
I don't
hear
want to
it."
hear it.
So he just
Ugh,
says,
that is-
"Natalie, I'm voting for you." It's brutal. Natalie is banished, and I understood her anger. If I was her, I'd also be furious. Her voice is shaking as she exits. She's like, "I've always tried to present as tough throughout my life, like trying to like show that I'm strong, and sometimes that comes with being judged and seen as ruthless. But today, a gamer got played. I'm a faithful. So good job, guys." And she's so defeated. And it's so sad. I'm like, this is like not fun to watch. This is depressing.
People's feelings get hurt sometimes because the nature of the game is to build a case against people. And sometimes they're innocent. And so things were marshaled as evidence that feel very unfair. And sometimes there is like bias at play and all of these things. But what I have not seen as often is like someone really going in believing that they have this alliance with them and that alliance so completely dropping them in such an
And
like
it's all people we like too. So it just made it
I
extra hard to
know.
watch them
And,
snipe
like,
at each other.
sometimes the alliance ends up falling apart because they realize that the votes are just not going their way. But Johnny and Tara didn't even try. Like Tara got Natalie on board with this theory and then walked away at the key moment when she could have said even one thing to support Natalie, one thing that she said to Natalie to convince Natalie of this theory. And, like, it just does feel it's hard for it not to feel sort of, like, personally painful.
I know. I know. And then it's even sadder because Tara takes this on herself. You can tell that
Yeah.
she's like, I am a bad friend. I am, she's like feeling like a truly bad person after this round table. She's like, I don't want to play this game anymore. I feel like a fool. Like, she's basically like, please murder me. And then I started to feel really bad for her as well. I felt so bad for Natalie. And then I really felt for Tara. She starts to sob, and Mark is hugging her, and he's like, it's okay. It's okay. It's just a game. And she just says to Johnny and Mark, like, I just feel so pathetic. And to be fair, I was just calling all of them pathetic. But you're
But
a
they
good
shouldn't
person,
call themselves
Tara.
pathetic. Don't listen to us.
Yeah.
Stand firm.
It's just really sad. I'm like, this game is
Yeah.
psychologically breaking people.
I will say that, like, I think that Tara's reaction, while I don't think it should define her life, I do think that it was the sort of healthy reaction because she did completely sell Natalie out. And I think that there was humanity, at least in being able to say, like, that was wrong of me to do that. And I feel
I
guilty.
agree. This is when I was like, I would be Tara. Like, I would doubt myself, and I would make a move that got someone that had trusted me ban it. Like, I can see it playing out. She almost is like so paralyzed because any ability to trust herself has been like beaten down. It's like brutal, and it does tell me that she is a good person because she had this reaction.
Yeah, I'm just so frustrated because, like, I want to be in Tara's corner and I feel bad seeing anyone that sad, but I'm like, this was so completely created by yourself, and Natalie is the one who got fucked. Like,
Oh,
you went
absolutely.
out of your way to recruit Natalie to this whole gambit, and then you hung her out to dry, and now you're crying. And I'm like, fine, cry a little bit. Like, you should feel bad. Everyone makes mistakes. Tara comes into the kitchen where Maura and Rob are hanging out. They're confused. They're like, why would Tara try to convince Natalie about Rob and then vote for Natalie? Like, what's going on? Rob is not really confused, but he's pretending to be confused. Tara comes in at this point tearful, and she's like, I just feel really dumb. I feel bad. I feel bad for Natalie. And Maura's like, look, I have some wisdom to share about how to play this game. Listen to me. Here. She hugs Tara. She's like, I don't want to see you upset. You need to start playing like it's a game.
Mm.
Maura, you might as well not even be here.
I'm
Like,
like, Mora, you've been on the winning team this whole time. You're not aware, but you haven't
no.
been in any danger. Your allies haven't been in any danger. You haven't been put in a position where you have to vote against someone that you've aligned with. Like,
Right.
you've actually not faced any of these like emotional hurdles in this
No,
game.
it's truly like the walk-on on a national championship winning team giving like motivational speeches about how to not choke when like in crunch time. It's like you were never on the field. Like this
Yeah.
is not this is nothing that you did. So she's like, just play like it's a game, Tara. And Tara says, well, I don't know. We like Natalie and I, we hugged, like we were open with each other. Like she trusted me, and like I just feel bad. And Maura's like, well, then why did you vote for her?
I mean, she's right about that. She
She
shouldn't
sh-
have, but
she shouldn't have voted for her,
Mora.
but
Also, here's the thing: if she had voted for Rob, Mora would have been like, "You're suspicious. You voted for Rob."
and Tara tries to also explain like her suspicions were coming back, and Johnny's like, well, she attacked her back. And Maura says, well, people throw out my name all the time in this game, but that doesn't make me go for them.
Mora, that hasn't happened for weeks.
No one has genuinely come for Maura in the way that people have come for Tara. So that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. And also, like, Maura, you go after people based on the flimsiest of pretexts all the time. So to be like lecturing Tara, this is when I started to get defensive of Tara because I was like, Maura,
Yeah.
don't sit here acting
How
superior
dare
right
you?
now. How dare
How
you?
dare you? You're No one's worse at this game than you. No one has been a bigger boon to the traitors in this game than you. So after this, Mark and Rob chat while laying back on a pool table. Rob's like, I felt bad about Natalie, but we had to do it. And Rob and Mark agree that they don't really think it's Tara, but Rob is like, we can't take a chance. We have to get rid of her. Mark seems less ready to get rid of Tara. He's like, those tears would be Oscar worthy if that was a performance. Like, she's simply not that good of an actor.
And Rob is like, no, I think she is an amazing actress.
I think she should win an Oscar.
I think those were Oscar-worthy tears. But Mark has something else to offer. He says now he's back on Eric. Eric was silent yet again. Maybe Kristen was right.
Rough person to go with these suspicions with no one else around.
Ugh. It should, I don't want to judge because we have the information, but it should be so obvious to everyone how much power Rob has in this game and how dangerous that is. Like, everyone wants to go to Rob first.
He's just such a good faithful. That's why.
Meanwhile, Johnny tells Maura and Tara that if he's murdered, they should avenge him. And it's like, Tara's like, who? Like, avenge you with who? And Johnny says, I don't know, Eric?
And at this point, Johnny reveals that he has finally had a brilliant brainwave. Finally, at the 11th hour. It's definitely too late. He's like, Eric doesn't really offer names. He's gone so unnoticed. I think there's 2 traitors remaining, and I think they're Rob and Eric. No, I guess there was no need to share with the class when you had Natalie's vote.
Well, I guess that Natalie being banished as a faithful was the final piece of evidence that he needed. And the thing about Eric is that they can get Eric, right? No one is Eric's number one ally either. Mora is willing to consider Eric, so he could be in a pretty vulnerable position. Eric and Rob retreat to the turret that night. They're very excited because they get to murder anyone they want, and the odds are in their favor. They've got 2 traitors heading into the finale. They're running the game. Rob is running the game.
And Eric is there.
They start by just like hyping each other up for getting through a tough day where Rob was really under fire. Eric is like, you handled it with poise. And Rob says, you crushed it today. Getting the shield was huge.
Rob does offer a little constructive criticism. He's like, Eric, I did notice you were silent and you do need to speak. But just consider speaking. And Eric is like, well, I just thought it would be weird if I spoke out against Natalie, who everyone was going after. Okay, man.
I do think Eric is in a bit of a catch-22 here where he has been kind of quiet a lot. And so if he starts speaking up a lot, that will seem suspicious. But the fact that he's continuing to hang back also seems suspicious. It reminds me of what happened with like Dan, I think, like a couple seasons ago or last season. But like people started to be like, it's suspicious how Dan never talks. And suddenly he was like, I've got a lot to say. And it's like, wait, that's suspicious too. Once people have decided that your way of being is a little suspicious, it's very hard to alter it without that's also being suspicious. Alan interrupts their little love sesh, their mutual appreciation society. It's time for their last kill, and it's going to be dramatic. Once they decide who to murder, all of the remaining players will be woken up, taken outside, and they'll be forced to stare death in the face because Alan will reveal who was murdered in front of everyone.
I love this. This is great. We're giving the faithfuls one more chance to notice even a single thing.
I know. They're like, oh God, now we're going to have to act surprised even more than at breakfast. Like, I guess, because breakfast already is kind of a moment for this to happen, but it'll be even harder. So they have to decide who they're going to kill. If they kill Johnny, they're like, we can split up the skating twins. They always vote together. They're a solid block. But Eric brings up that then Tara becomes a complete unknown. Like, whose lead is she going to follow at the round table? If they get rid of Tara, she's a great distraction. She's a smokescreen for them. So maybe that's not the move. There's Mark. He trusts Rob a lot, which is useful, but people trust him so much that he won't get banished, and he is suspicious of Eric, which is also concerning.
Mora, she's very gullible.
Her bestie Rob says this. I was like, Maura, this is the man you're riding into battle for. When he's with his boys, he's like, that chick is gullible. She'll believe anything. I could sway her whichever way I wanted.
Also, she is their biggest ally. But on the other hand, Rob will not be under suspicion at all if Mora is murdered.
Like, maybe it's late enough in the game that he could lose his closest ally without harming himself too much in terms of what goes down at banishments. Like, maybe it's time to use her instead to totally throw off the scent rather than to have her there as a voice, because it's not like they have many round tables left. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there is still a path for Rob to win without Mora, but it's probably smarter to just murder Mark because people trust him. And Johnny and Tara are a complete mess.
I do think that, like, if Maura stays to the finale, you have to be looking at Rob. Like, it is crazy to, like, why is she here?
Also true.
Like,
I mean, yeah,
like,
the question is, do they have the numbers if Mora and Rob make it to the final fire pit?
yeah.
Do they even have the numbers? So there are 6 people left. They're going to kill someone. If they kill Mark, then there's a chance Rob could get banished, but it would require Mora going against Eric. And then Rob would have to follow. And Mora would have to, like, align herself with Johnny and Tara. And then even if they got Eric out at the final fire, it would be the 4 of them. So it would be like deadlocked vote.
I think it's looking bad for Mark.
I agree.
Because it's going to be so hard for Rob to let go of the security of Mora being there in these votes. Johnny and Tara are much more likely to end up banished. Like, the 3 of them could band together and banish Johnny or Tara and pick them off.
Yeah, and then you end up at the final fire pit with Mora being like, I want to end the game with my best bros.
Yeah.
Or at least
I
my
trust you
one
guys
best
so
bro.
much. And his friend, who seems nice enough. A little quiet, but...
And you know what? If that's how this goes, I'm going to enjoy every moment of Mora getting completely fucked over.
Yeah, it's not often that I want a woman to get fucked over. But if you keep centering men in your game on the traitors, you need to learn. You need to learn what a bad idea
You're gonna
that
learn
is.
the hard way, babe. So at this point, they decide and they look at each other and they say, let's do this, bro. Just 2 bros doing murder. Alan calls all the remaining players outside with a little bell. I love this.
I'm sure that awoke them from their deep slumbers up in the castle, where we know they're sleeping and filing their nails and doing tricks with their pocket watches.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I think what happened is they didn't allow them to return to their hotels yet. And they just held them in, like, separate rooms for a while.
Yeah, it's movie magic. So they all head outside. They see lit torches and a coffin, and they're all like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. Maura keeps whispering, I'm gone. I'm gone. She is, like, such a prime person to have been murdered by now, because no one is ever suspicious of her. So she's not going to get banished, and she's not a distraction or a smokescreen for a traitor. And she contributes nothing as a faithful. It's, like, so obvious that there's no reason for her to be there.
Other than a traitor shield.
Other than a traitor shield. Like, it's I'm so frustrated. Alan says that he has some upsetting news, and Rob is like, I'm not coming back in the morning. Laying it on a little thick. Alan tells them that a faithful will be brutally murdered in front of everyone right now, and Rob is like, I'd rather go like this, honestly. And Maura's like, no, it's definitely me. It's like Wuthering Heights over here. They're like,
and I'm like, it's
oh,
Mark.
They're like,
but
which one of us beautiful, statuesque young lovers will be ended right now? Better this than the septicemia.
So, of course, we end on a cliffhanger. Next week is the finale. It's going to be a wild ride.
I will be frustrated if it ends with Rob just fully running the game because it just is starting to seem like predestined, like there's no way out for the faithfuls at this point, and that makes it more
I
boring
know.
to me.
I'd like someone to at least make a strong play. Like, even if Rob's
Yeah.
going to win, I'd like him to face a little bit of challenge. Maybe they'll get Eric out. Maybe someone will step in at the last minute and hold their ground and refuse to end the game with Rob. I don't know, but I'd like to see someone try.
Who knows? I never know what's going to happen one week to the next. If you told me last week that Tara was going to have a completely correct instinct, whip votes, lead the charge, and then
shit the bed.
completely shit the bed at the round table, I would not have believed you. So next week we'll be back, and I can't wait. On that note, that's it for this episode of Love to See It with Emma and Claire. If you're watching this on YouTube, remember to like and subscribe to our channel.
Love to See It is a presentation of Odyssey. The show is produced by us, Claire Fallon, and Emma Gray. Our production assistant is Tatiana Knies-Smith, who also edits our video. This episode was edited by John Bahar. Our theme music is by Tamar Haviv, and our art is by Aaron Nestor.
If you like the show, please follow us, rate us 5 stars, leave a review, and of course, tell all your friends about our show.
If you want to get in touch, you can email us at claireandemmapod@gmail.com.
You can also find us on TikTok at Love to See It Pod and Instagram at Claire and Emma Pod. And you can find our newsletter, Rich Text, on Substack at claireandemma.substack.com.
I'm also on Blue Sky at Emma Gray and on Instagram at Emma Lady Rose.
And I'm at Claire E. Fallon. Special thanks to the team at Odyssey, Eric Donnelly, Peter Arriaga, Kate Rose, Maura Curran, Melissa Wester, and Hillary Schupp.
We will be back next week, first with a recap of Love is Blind, and then with our next episode of The Traitors.
Can you keep up?